Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about Yin Yoga, one of my favorite styles of yoga, but I guess they're all pretty good. Although, between you and me, I really hate hot yoga, like really bad. Anyway, Yin Yoga is a slightly different type of yoga than what you're probably used to at a studio or a gym. It's much slower, you hold the poses for a lot longer, and it's really meant to relax you. And since it doesn't take much energy and it's very restorative, it's a good yoga practice to do when you are tired, sick, stressed, overwhelmed, or when you feel like you just need to treat your body with something a little bit more gentle. And since there's very little muscle engagement, it really focuses on increasing circulation to the joints and to the ligaments and increasing your flexibility. And many of the poses in Yin Yoga are actually designed to target energetic pathways like meridians in our body based on the way that we have shaped our body in that pose. So when we hold a pose for really long and we are situated in a certain way, it's specifically done to increase energetic flow into a certain area of the body along a certain meridian. And because of its focus on the deeper connective tissue like joints, ligaments, and bones, Yin Yoga is really good for helping with mobility and with flexibility. So why do Yin Yoga? Well, you're definitely not going to be working up a sweat in this class, and you're probably not going to be strengthening or building or toning your muscles. But what this type of yoga is supposed to do is it really helps you fall into a greater state of relaxation by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. When we hold these poses for a lot longer and when we engage more in that sense of stillness, we can take ourselves out of the sympathetic nervous system or fight or flight. So you know that feeling when you're just frantic and you're busy and you're in that momentum and it's hard to slow down. This is a really great practice for that. So some pointers to think about when you are starting a Yin Yoga practice. First off, come to your mat with a little bit of a sense of compassion for yourself and the limitations that our bodies have. Sometimes we see these yoga instructors and they're like bent in certain ways and you're like, well, I can't do that, so I better just not do it at all. It's really important that you are realistic about what your body's capable of, and not just realistic, but also really understanding. So if all you can do is, bend forward halfway into the pose, then that's what you do, and that's okay. So you go to whatever edge is there for you. And it's like a comfortable edge. You want to feel a little bit of a stretch, but a stretch that you can relax into. You don't want to feel like, oh God, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts. That's not the whole point of Yin Yoga. Another thing that's important to remember is that the muscle relaxation is one of the most important parts in it. So if you find yourself tensing up in the pose, I want you to think about softening. Soften the muscles, soften the skin. We oftentimes don't realize we're tensing muscles when we are, and that's why this is such a good practice, because we're so still and the poses are held for such a long time that you really get the opportunity to scan your body and to see, oh, I'm holding tension in my calves. Like, I find that sometimes too. I know it sounds so strange. And while it may look really easy, some people actually find it incredibly difficult to be still for 5, 6, 7 minutes. So if you're just starting out, I'd recommend maybe just holding the poses for 1 or 2 minutes and to just slow your breathing down and to try to be as still as you can in it. But it's okay if it's a little bit uncomfortable at first. We live in such a fast-paced society that anything that we're slowing down for almost feels counterintuitive, and your brain starts to go like, well, what am I gonna make for dinner tonight? And oh, I got laundry to fold. And our brains don't want our bodies to slow down. So if at first it's really difficult, stick with it. Start slow or start small, and then start to build your way up to longer amounts of time. And one more important tip that I want to share with you is sometimes when we are getting really still, different emotions can come up, and sometimes they can be very negative, and we don't know why that happens. Sometimes we can maybe store certain emotions in our bodies, and when we're in yoga poses and stretching in certain ways, those emotions can actually resurface and we can start to feel old wounds. So if when you are doing a Yin Yoga practice or even a restorative or any kind of yoga practice, if you start to feel any type of uncomfortable or old emotions come up, try not to resist it, because the more we resist those, the harder they will come at us. So I almost like to look at it as like, invite them in with curiosity. Oh, what are you doing here? Why are you showing up in my practice today? Are you here to tell me something? And it's just kind of, you let them be there. And that's the hardest part more so than the physical aspect of stretching your body in new ways. But it's allowing those old emotions and maybe some uncomfortable thoughts to come in and just make peace with them and let them exist without trying to be like, oh my God, no, I'm not thinking about that right now. Because I know we've all been there, and sometimes it's within that yoga practice that we can start to make peace with those old experiences and those old emotions. So those are just some quick tips to get you started on a Yin Yoga practice. I'm going to be putting out some video content in the near future with specific Yin Yoga sequences. I figured I wouldn't do that today because this is just a bit of an intro. If you've never heard of it or you want to give it a try, this is some good information to know beforehand. So if you want to get started, YouTube's the best place to start. Seriously, just Yin Yoga and you're good to go. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope this was helpful for you. And you can always go back to bloomspark.com. More information and tips are always there, and hit me up on Facebook and Instagram. I'm always there. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. If you like this video, hit subscribe. I would love to connect with you guys and to see what type of content you'd like to see more of from me.